For those of you that don't know, I work in a power station, so it would be a little bit hypocritical of me if I didn't embrace the electron. So, I bought an electric car. Allow me to introduce to you Family Car 2 Electric Boogaloo. Yes, this is a 2017 Hyundai Ioniq, full electric, and I'm quite happy with it actually, to be honest with you. It is a great car. I've had it for about 2 months now, and this is the first opportunity I've had to do a review on it. So I've been using it a good bit to get in and out of work, and I'm going to show you around it and show you what you can expect if you decide to go out and get one of these cars too. So allow me to be clear at this point in time, I have classic cars, I am a classic car enthusiast. This is not the kind of car that excites me, to be honest with you, but that is not what I want from it. What I want from it is something reliable, economical, practical, and something that I can drive past garages with the odd time. And this certainly ticks those boxes. But yeah, I mean, as far as styling goes, it's fine, it is what it is. To be honest with you, I think the pre-facelift model, which is this one here, that hasn't got the modified grille, is actually a smarter looking car. It's, you know, I mean, look, again, silver is not even the colour I would have picked, to tell you the truth. I tend to find silver is quite a boring colour. It's popular, yes, but silver, black, grey, white, you know, and yes, my Toyota Auris is white. Not exactly the most exciting colours. This car is wallpaper. It's in the background, you don't notice it, but it does the job. I'm going to start by answering that question. What are electric cars like to live with? Well, to be honest with you, if I didn't work in the power station, I would have been a little bit reticent to buy one, to tell you the truth, simply because of the fact that the charging infrastructure is sketchy at best, and here where I live, the nearest charging point that you could actually rely on is 10 kilometres away, and that's just not practical. Yes, you can plug it in at home, but from zero to full charge on this car takes 16 hours. Now that's all right if you come home from work and you plug it in as soon as you get home and you take it off the following day, or you charge it up enough to get you to a charging point. They're all absolutely fine, but the thing about it is that you want to be able to rely on it in the same way as you do your normal practical car, you know, your petrol car. And to be honest with you, I can charge this in work, so, you know, happy days in that regard. And yes, I do have to pay for electricity before anybody jumps down my neck about working in a power station. Yes, I do have to pay for it, okay, so step off there a little bit. But yeah, I have to say though, I mean, from that perspective, given the fact that I have a place to charge it in work, I always do plug it in when I get into work, and it works out absolutely fine for me. I have a 45 kilometre each way journey, so, you know, 90 kilometre round trip, and I can do that journey twice on a charge in this car. So now, what I will say is when the weather is particularly cold, as it has been the last while, it's been down to -5, -6 degrees here, the range takes a serious hit. And the simple reason for that is because the heat has to come from somewhere, and the heat comes from a battery it comes from the batteries. And yeah, so you're going to lose your range through that. But that's not always going to be the case, and you do have heated seats, which are a nice little addition. And to be honest with you, this car is absolutely feature packed, and there are so many features I really like about it. And yeah, I mean, look, to be honest with you, practical range in this 210 kilometers, you know, full charge. And that's kind of, you know, combined driving. That's sort of what I'm seeing, 210 kilometres. If it's very cold, that might drop down to about 180 kilometres, maybe even 170. Depends on how I drive and what sort of journeys I'm doing. So let's say you're in a ballpark of 170 to 210 kilometres there, okay? Doesn't sound like much, but, you know, when you're using it the way I'm using it, and for a lot of people that is the way to go, then great. But the thing about it is this is a second car. We do still have the Toyota Auris, and the Toyota Auris is in reliable daily service. My wife uses it for dropping the kids to school, and for that it's absolutely great. And, you know, it means that I don't have to think about it. Up until recently, my wife is using the Golf to drop the kids to school in, and she wanted some creature comforts. I thought about getting a second car anyway, so I was thinking this is the most practical option, and it certainly is. So going beyond the mundane aspect of owning an electric car, what's this car like to live with as a car? Well, I have to say the build quality is very, very good. Road handling is absolutely fine. The only thing I would complain about in that regard, and there's nothing to do with Hyundai, is those absolute ditch finder crappy Chinese tyres that have to go, and I will be getting a new set of tyres in the next week or so. They're absolute garbage, and I would not put them on a silage pit, whatever about putting them on a car. Grenlander Colo H01 mud and snow tyres. Absolute garbage. And on the back, Ioniq L Grip 66. I can only imagine the L stands for lose. Who knows? So I'll be pulling those tyres off and at least sticking a new set of tyres on the front of the car. It does need good tyres on the front because it will tend to spin the wheels if you try and open the taps on a wet road. And there's plenty of low down torque there, being an electric motor and all that. Road handling, great, absolutely fine. As I said, it's the build quality is good. You know, there doesn't seem to be any cheap egg box plastics inside, and I'll bring you inside now in a minute to have a look around. The boot is actually very spacious for the car that it is. You know, I mean, it hasn't got a deep floor, but it has got a, it goes quite far forward into the car. When the driver's seat is adjusted for somebody my size, who's a metre 90 or 6'2", then you've still got plenty of room in the back. And I have to say, it is bigger inside than the Urus is, albeit a little bit bigger on the outside as well. Inside though, visibility is terrible through the back window. It has reversing cameras and reversing sensors, but the thing about it is the reversing camera gets dirty because it's not shielded from the elements. So more often than not, to tell you the truth, it's dirty, especially because where I work, you actually have to go up through a quarry to get to. So yeah, I mean, that kind of causes a little bit of an issue there. First world problems, you know yourself. But look, it's fine. You know, you can make do, and the mirrors are decent enough. You've got good visibility in all other corners of the car, comparatively speaking, for a modern car. I mean, to be honest with you, most modern cars aren't great as far as visibility is concerned. Okay, so bringing you guys inside the car, let's talk about some of the features that this car has. One of the ones I really like is the adaptive cruise control. It is absolutely fantastic. I've always thought cruise control is a little bit on the useless side of things other than that, to be honest with you, because as soon as somebody slows down in front of you, you have to disengage it. Not with this. You just basically leave the car alone and it'll slow down if the car slows down in front of you, and speed up if they speed up to a max set point. You can also set a speed limit as well, which is absolutely brilliant, and I really like it. To be honest with you, it's when I'm coming off night shift and I'm coming home and everything like that, you know, it's great just to be able to set it and forget it. So yeah, that's one of the things it has. The other thing then as well is active lane assist. Now, the way active lane assist essentially works is it's watching the white lines on the road, and if you've got the white lines on the road, it'll follow them and it will actually make small corrections to the steering to keep you in between them and keep you on the straight and narrow. I don't really like that too much, to be honest with you. There might be times I've tried it and stuff like that, but it kind of takes a little bit too much of the driving away from me, you know. I mean, I like to be able to actually be in control of the car. Now, you can stick it on, and if you take your hand off the wheel, it will beep at you to tell you to hold on to the steering wheel. But and if you cross over one of the lines as well without using your indicators, it'll also beep at you then as well. So, you know, yeah, that nicely leads me on to another thing that's a little bit of a gripe with this car. There are beeps and bongs and chimes for absolutely everything, and it's a little bit annoying, to be honest with you. I'm just going to demonstrate one of them. I'm going to just turn off the car. Like, are all the bings and bongs necessary? Like, the nice little song that it plays and all that sort of stuff is great until you've got kids asleep in the back of the car and it wakes them up. And now what's it even beeping about? Maybe the fact that the doors are open or something like that. Yeah, I know the doors are open. I can see that. Thank you very much. So yeah, anyway, that's another thing. It also plays music when you turn it on, so I'm going to turn it on now. God almighty, it's a little bit over the top now, to tell you the truth. Another thing I don't like is the fact that when you turn off the car, until you open the door, the radio stays on. When I turn off the car, I want to turn off the car. I don't want to leave the radio on. If I want to go back into accessory mode, let me do that. It doesn't, it stays in accessory mode until you open the door. You know, I can't find a way of disabling that function, to be honest with you, and I don't like it too much, to tell you the truth. It's also mildly irritating because, you know, when I've arrived at my destination, I turn it off, and sometimes I'm getting my gear together and all that sort of stuff, and if I've been rocking the tunes in the car and all that, I don't want to continue to rock the tunes in the car while I'm stopped and getting my gear together. Listen, that's just me, and it's nitpicking, to tell you the truth, but yeah, I'm allowed to nitpick. It's my car, you know. So yeah, anyway, I'll take you through the dashboard here now, and I'll show you a few of the functions and features on it and that as well. Actually a small thing, but it makes a big difference. There's a button for lowering and increasing the gauge brightness. That's missing on so many cars. You have to go into a sub-menu to do it, and you're not going to do that if you're driving on a dark road. What I like to do when I'm driving on a dark road is to actually dim the lights on the dashboard almost completely. so that you have better visibility on the road and there's nothing distracting you. And it's got a button for doing that. Beside that button, there's actually vehicle engine sound system. It doesn't sound at all like like an engine. It sounds like it kind of goes, oh, it's really weird. Like, I don't like the noise of it at all. So if I'm not driving in a built-up area or something like that where somebody is likely to run out in front of me, I sometimes turn it off. Haven't figured out what that. Oh, there's a timed charge function on it where you can charge in off-peak hours. Can be useful. Active stability control. That's the lane guidance gizmo, and then that opens the fuel flap. So yeah, that's just a couple of the buttons around there. Speaking of rocking the tunes, the stereo is actually really good. It's got infinity speakers, there's plenty of volume in it, so if you do want to turn up the volume, you can do that, and I sometimes do, I'll be honest with you. It is, there's DAB and FM and all that on it, and it's, you've got auxiliary and USB down there. The USB also functions to connect to Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Now, unfortunately, the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are not wireless, but to be honest with you, it's not such a hardship just keeping a cable in the car to connect it in, and that's what I do. And plus, the benefit there is instead of it discharging your phone, it's actually charging your phone as well as you drive. So clouds and silver linings and that. But the other thing as well it has is a pretty decent sat nav of its own. But the one thing I will say is that unless you're going to be getting the updates for it and everything like that, just use the Android Auto, because then you have Google Maps, and Google Maps is better than any other map that I've ever used, to be honest with you, and it's got all the traffic avoidance points of interest and all that jazz. You can connect the car to Wi-Fi, which will, if you connect to the Wi-Fi hotspot on your phone, then you can get live traffic information on the map that comes with the car. But if you're going to go to that effort, again, why not just use the Android Auto? So that's my thinking on it. Seats are comfortable and supportive. There's plenty of room for me, and I'm not a small man. I mean, I can put the seat further back. Now, why I'd ever want to be driving this far away from the steering wheel, I don't know. Some people do, but I don't. But they're absolutely fine. I do think the Toyota is a little bit more comfortable, but again, that's just a small gripe. It's not by any means uncomfortable, this car. So just looking in the back seat now, you can see with the seat adjusted in the front for a man of my stature, there's still enough legroom here in the back for another man of my stature. So or a woman of my stature for that matter, but not so many of them. But it's fine. The back seat is comfortable, and you don't feel kind of penned in or anything like that, and there's plenty of headroom in that too. So I mean, enough for me anyway. I've also got the car seat in the passenger side here, and it's got the ISOFIX points, as you could expect to, and it's got rear air vents, which is something the Toyota doesn't have actually, and this is something which is nice, because when you have the kids in the back of the car, you want them to be warm as much as you do. Now, as a standard operating procedure for most modern cars these days, there is no spare wheel. There's just one of those little puncture repair kits, which they only work sometimes, and if it's only a slow puncture, it ruins the wheel, so you can never so you need to get the it doesn't ruin the wheel, it ruins the tyre. So you need to get the tyre replaced rather than repaired at that point. So definitely another grievance of mine with modern cars, and something I don't like about them. Just give us back our spare wheels, please. Before I take you out for a drive in it, let's just look at some of the features on the front of the car actually, because there are a few that I really like. Namely the headlights. They are absolutely brilliant, unlike the Toyota again. I know I'm drawing comparisons, but it's the other car I have. So they are the comparisons you're going to get from me. Twin projector dipped beams, and there's a halogen main beam there as well, so that's really good. You've got your daytime running lights down here, but no fog lights on the front, which is quite surprising, to tell you the truth, with a car with this amount of features on it. I imagine they're probably an optional extra. This car just doesn't have them. So do I miss them? No, not really, no. I don't really use them that often. I'm not one of these knobheads who drives around with their fog lights on all the time. The only time I use them is, funnily enough, when it's foggy. But anyway, we'll have a look under the bonnet there as well. There is the power plant of sorts under there, and we shall investigate. So what's under the bonnet of an EV like this, I hear you ask?
What's under the bonnet of an EV like this?
Well, there's quite a few bits and pieces actually, and I'm going to show you now exactly what you can find in here. You can hear it's making a bit of noise. there are fans and pumps and motors and things like that in there. That's your 12 volt house battery, which is going to operate your 12 volt electrics, act as buffer storage and pull in the contactor for the high voltage electrical systems. In here is the variable speed drive / inverter for the motor, and the charger for AC charging at home and stuff like that. DC charging doesn't use the charger, and that DC charging charges the batteries directly. Underneath that is the actual motor and differential itself, so you can just about see down there. Not much to see, to tell you the truth, but it's in there anyway nonetheless. And it's connected to a gearbox of sorts and a differential. Various different things like your air conditioning systems, you've got brake fluids, you've got there's a coolant reservoir because the motor and electronics are water cooled or fluid cooled. Windscreen reservoir, that is the ABS pump, and yeah, you can see various high voltage wires and stuff like that there as well. And there is that down there is the air conditioning compressor itself. You also have a fan here as well, then, which is part of what's making the noise. The motor itself is bordering on silent. I mean, you do hear it sometimes when you accelerate hard. Well, really, it's more the inverter than the motor you hear, but it does make a little bit of noise. Certainly not intrusive by any stretch of the imagination. Incidentally, cabin heating is accomplished through a vapor cycle unit rather than a resistive heater. So it is actually using the air conditioning system to provide the cycle of fluids for providing your heat. So that's where that heat's coming from. It's not that I actually have the air conditioning on as such. I do, but it's working in reverse, if you know what I mean. So it's warming things up inside rather than cooling it down. That's just how that system works, and that's where the electricity goes. I believe, now don't quote me on this, but I believe that the air conditioning compressor is actually a high voltage unit, so it's run directly off the high voltage batteries. Is that important? No, not remotely, but for some people they might be interested, so if you're not, let's just move on. Now, there's an argument to say that they could have made the engine bay more compact and maybe made some storage under there, possibly for a spare wheel that I've been complaining about, which would have been nice. And given the fact that, you know, the inverter and charger could have really gone anywhere in the car, or maybe down the side or something like that. That could have been a possibility, but they didn't do that, and I suppose the reasoning behind that is this is a package-built car insofar as there is versions of this with a petrol engine. There is a hybrid, plug-in hybrid and electric, so this being the electric that kind of made the power plant to just drop in the place of the petrol engine. Right, let's go for a drive, shall we? So, selector is accomplished by... Let me get the coffee cup out of the way. Hey, it's a working vehicle, folks. Selection is accomplished using the buttons here. I'd prefer the joystick or something, but we don't get a joystick. We have heated seats, and we've got a drive mode here, which goes between Eco, Sport, and just regular. I just keep it in regular. Eco, all it does is it just makes the pedal as the response as dead as anything, and it doesn't really seem to do much for the range. The power mode, it changes the display on the dashboard from a speedometer to a power meter, and then you get your speedometer in the middle. It is kind of cool, to be honest with you, but frugality is not something I buy into too often, to tell you the truth. So anyway, look, we're just going to keep it in normal mode. So also electric handbrake, again, not a massive fan, but you know, it is what it is and it works, so we'll just we'll go with it. Look, you don't need to take it off when you're pulling away. It does that itself. So as soon as you put it in drive and start to move, it'll take itself off. And then when you put it in park, you can put it on then, and it's fine. You know, it's got auto hold and everything as well. So yeah, so let's get moving. So I've got 150 kilometers of range in this. Now I'm not going to be using all that in this video. Don't worry. So. Throttle response is good. It's not what you would call a fast car, but it's not slow by any stretch of the imagination. There's plenty of grunt there to get you out of any situation, and it will get a shift on when you want it to. It is quiet and refined, as I found out recently, given the weather situation. It's fairly well mannered in the snow and ice, and I reckon given the right tyres, that would actually probably be better again. Look, it's never going to set the world on fire as far as kind of an exciting drive is concerned, but that's not why you buy something like this. You buy it because of the fact that it's, you know, it's comfortable. You know, you stick your heated seats on, you can stick your cruise control on, have a decent stereo. You know, it's visibility, as I said, is very good. You know, you don't have to think about this car. And for me, in the depths of winter, when my classic cars are tucked away in the garage, and I don't want to be kind of exposed now to salted roads and everything like that, this is the car for me. And it is a car that it won't get washed as often as other cars I have. It won't get hoovered out too often. It will the odd time. I won't let it get piggy or anything like that. But it's yeah. I mean, it ticks those boxes for me, and that's what I want from it. So yeah. I mean, we're on fairly rough roads here now, and okay, the gimbal stabilized camera is probably not a true reflection. But to be honest with you, I'm not getting bounced all over the place here. The suspension is fine. Given the weight of the car, it's, you know, and you don't forget you have your batteries and everything like that. It's fine. You know, it's absolutely fine. Again, not a sporty car. It's not pretending to be. And, yeah, you know, it's well mannered. And, yeah, like you've got your, you know, the navigation on the screen there, and yeah, it's, you know, it's great. Like, you know, I mean, I've got most buttons on the dashboard there to change the modes on the display. Now, the only thing I haven't figured out how to do yet, and it's probably just because of the fact that I haven't kind of tried to figure it out, is I haven't figured out how to reset the trip counter. And like, there's 85,000 kilometers on this car at the moment, by the way, and it's nearly 86,000 actually. And the battery percent, or the battery state of health, is still 100%. It's so if anybody's worried about depletion of the state of the batteries over a period of time, well, over 86,000 kilometers, they haven't depleted at all. So I would say that's pretty good, to tell you the truth. I mean, I do think Hyundais are a reliable car. The power station I'm working in, there are many motors and drives and things like that made by Hyundai, and they never give trouble. So I'd like to think that this would be the same situation here. I've got Slowpoke Rodriguez and a Dacia Sandero in front of me here, which is not letting me accelerate particularly hard, but you know, again, this is how you drive this car. You know, I don't feel like I want to put the foot down in it too often. Sometimes it's nice to. I mean, just there is plenty of poke there, and it'll kind of push you into your seat a little bit, but it doesn't make the noise of, you know, a petrol engine or anything like that. So it's somewhat sterile. It's a bit disconcerting, I suppose. You know, you feel more. You feel far more involved in the MGB or the Beetle or whatever when you put the foot down, you know, that you're actually part of something, whereas here you're just kind of along for the ride. And don't take these things as criticisms, because, as I said, if this car was pretending to be a sports car, I'd be slating it. It's not pretending to be a sports car at all. You know, it's just pretending to be claiming to be a reliable family car. The one thing I will say, as far as being a main family car is concerned, if I was replacing the Toyota with this, it would have to have more range. 210 kilometers is not enough. I would be wanting something with more like around 350 to 400 kilometers. But then you're into a much higher price bracket, you know. I mean, and that's the thing about it. Like, I bought this car for less than 20,000 euro, second hand, obviously. So I think I got a pretty good deal on it, to tell you the truth. Come on, what are you braking for God's sake? You know, actually, it's a good opportunity to set the cruise control. So there you go. I've got the cruise control set to 90 kilometers an hour, and I'm just taking my foot off the accelerator here now, and it's just plodding along behind Miss Daisy in front of us here. We're doing 68 kilometers an hour. And when they go to slow down, now the only thing I'll say is, if you're going to use this, be very careful. If you go to turn off onto a slip road or something to pull off a motorway and you're driving behind someone who's going real slow, the car will accelerate. It doesn't consider what's up ahead. So like as far as turns or anything like that are concerned, it'll slow down if there's another car there, but it won't slow down for a bend. So you could end up going around a bend quite a bit faster than you'd like. I haven't gotten caught out with that, but I could see how you would. So like on a roundabout, for example, you go onto a roundabout following somebody else. Now I'm coming up to a roundabout here and I've turned off the cruise control, because if this person is turning left or whatever, or not going the same way as me, then I could end up accelerating like the clappers out the other side. Now it doesn't accelerate instantaneously. It kind of feeds the power in. But yeah, as far as people's misgivings about the technology of the technology behind electric cars is concerned, don't forget, electric cars have been around for a long, long time. Okay, fair enough, they've gotten an awful lot of refinements and things like that since they kind of came out in the 19th century, in actual fact. People kind of liken them to milk floats. These are AC induction motors. They're water-cooled AC induction motors controlled by a sophisticated thyristor-driven inverter, which will give you a full range of power, and there's no kind of lag, or there's no brushes to worry about in the motors. They're very the motors are very sophisticated nowadays, and entirely maintenance free and self-contained. So you're not going to get any problems with the motors. I see many cars that are. I see many motors, AC induction motors, that have been in service continuously for 20 plus years, and they're air cooled. Nothing wrong with air cooled, by the way. Good enough for Volkswagen. There is a rattle coming from the back right. It's a trim rattle somewhere. It's the only thing that's annoying me in this car, and it's only just because I haven't actually spent any time trying to find where it's coming from or whatever. It's a small niggle. You only hear it sometimes, but it's there, and I don't like it. So I want to try and Jesus, trying to get out of this epoxy junction. Why did I come this way? Here we are. Mr. Truck Driver's letting me go. Nice one. Put the foot down there. It'll shift. Power delivery on electric motors is vastly different to how it is in petrol engines. It doesn't come in one big lump, it's continuous, it's linear. And that makes them quite nice to drive in that regard. So there we have it, folks. That's my Hyundai Ioniq electric. Bit of a mouthful of a name, to tell you the truth. Do I like it? Yes, absolutely, I do like it. I have to say, I'm really happy with it. As far as electric cars go, is an electric car for everybody? No, it's not. Does it suit me? Yes, absolutely it does. And to be honest with you, there are many people out there that electric cars do suit. But again, there's still a place for the petrol, diesel, hybrids, all of that, those type of things as well. So bear that in mind. If you do decide to go electric, a Hyundai Ioniq is actually a very good option for many people, especially if you're doing the kind of mileage I'm doing and have those kind of journeys. There are plenty of options that have higher range as well, so you could possibly look into them, and there are newer alternatives as well from Hyundai and other companies as well. So yeah, we'll leave it there, folks. Thanks very much for watching, and please do remember to subscribe before you go, and I'll see you in a future video. Thanks for watching.